Yo, what's up? So, I'm just here with a quick video that discusses something I don't know. I got some new camera settings and editing stuff I want to test out, so I'm just going to make a real quick little video on a concept that's used a lot in the productivity community and of course throughout the art community as a whole, which is the idea of setting up certain habits and rituals that can help you get into the flow state more easily. Or in other words, like setting up your environment so that it's more accessible for you to do good work. This often comes in the form of simple things such as like having a cup of coffee in the morning that gets you awake and able to like start working, or to like be in a calm environment and a silent room or something where you can get work done and really focus on what you're doing. It can also come into many other forms, but you can find a lot of advice online talking about different things you can do to set up your environment to help you more easily enter the flow state and more easily accomplish an effective amount of work when you sit down to work. So it's about making it easier to transition into doing work and making it faster to enter into that flow state once you do. So both of those things kind of go together to be in this realm of what we will be calling rituals. When doing creation, these rituals can be very important. In fact, for some people, they probably really struggle if they don't have these rituals like really defined and follow through with them often, if not every time, before they sit down to actually start to work on. And for other people, they might be more or less important depending a lot on your personality, your circumstances, and just like lots of other small factors and big factors that come into play when it comes to the importance of these. However, no matter who you are, it is important to have some things in place because they can help your efficiency when actually creating something. Because again, like the important part is like more easily be able to sit down and start working, and then more easily enter into that flow state, which is where you get your really good work done. And also it's just like, it's better to be in the flow state in general because it feels good to be in the flow state while creating. It's a more pleasant experience as a creator. Again, you can find tons of like general advice online on how to set up rituals and how to set up these habitual things that can make it easier to do these. What I want to talk about today is the more unusual aspects of building a ritual and the more personalized ones that people might not think about because they're more focused on like looking up what other people do rather than finding things that work for themselves. Because yes, I think a lot of the general advice is general for a reason. It works with a lot of people, and even if not 100% of the advice works with everyone, a large amount of the advice will work with a lot of people. As an example to what I'm talking about when I say finding things that work for yourself, it would be this right here, my shiny little headband, because of these two little shiny lights I have set up. You see, this Naruto headband of mine is something I've had for a very long time, and I have in the past used it while writing certain stories. I have like a couple objects that I will associate with writing, and so like there's a handful of things that I do that like help me enter the flow state and help me like instantly get into that zone where it's like, oh, yes, I'm writing this story now. One of those is a hat that's associated directly with one of my long-running stories, and whenever I pop that hat on, it's like, oh yes, I'm in the zone like immediately. It's like, oh yes, I'm working on this story, let's go. This headband isn't quite that specified. I wear this headband when I have a deadline I'd like to do. So what it does, the main benefit I'd say that it has is that as I'm walking around through the day, I like to walk around, pace around, go outside, walk as I'm writing a story. And that really helps with my process. That is debatably my entire process, is walking around outside and thinking about what I'm writing. So having this headband on while making coffee, while walking around, while I'm doing stuff is a constant physical reminder that I like have a deadline and I'm working on a story, so I can't get too off track. Topic. I won't get off track or off topic and like go off and think about some side thing or some extra thing I saw or get like a notification or something that distracts me. And even if it does start to distract me, because I have this headband here that's constantly physically a reminder, I can feel it on my head. You know, it's like got this piece of metal, it's got weight to it, I can feel it, right? So when I get distracted, I'm not going to be distracted for very long because I have this headband as a constant reminder, like, oh, I have a deadline I'm working towards. And so when I put it on, like, I put myself into this position where like I'm saying, okay, I have a deadline, I'm going to be working towards this deadline. And it's both a reminder, but also that like initial like, okay, stop messing around, you know, let's not like go off and do something random over here or some fun little side thing. Let's really focus on the thing we want to be working on right now. So that's what this headband kind of signifies when I wear it. And it kind of literally just randomly started when I had a really harsh deadline of having to like write a full-length one-shot in like a day essentially, or like a weekend, and having to like really knuckle down and do like 20 hours of work in that time. So I just popped on this headband and using it more of the idea of like, let's do this, let's get in the zone. But like as I like went through the work, it's like, oh, this is actually really helping. This is keeping me focused more. This is keeping me online. And like, again, if you're working like over the course of 20 hours, if you're not doing it straight, which you probably aren't, you're going to want something that like keeps you focused and keeps you coming back and doesn't allow you to stray too far away from working on that path, especially again, if you have that hard deadline that's like right there and you have to meet it. So that's like a ritual I can employ if I want to help myself with my writing, to help me like finish things on time. And again, having something like a hat that's associated with a story is another ritual that I have. That again, the second I put on that hat, it's like, oh, I'm in that place. I'm working on that style of story. I know exactly the thing I need to be doing. My brain just clicks. It clicks into place and starts working properly on it. And there's lots of things you can do. One of the best pieces of advice is like having a separate station, if at all possible, to have a separate station where you just get work done at and you don't mess around at. And like when you're there, you're working. And if you're not working, you can do other things as long as those other things are nothing, right? You can like sit there and think to yourself, but you can't surf YouTube. You can't like go online and look on things, whatever kids do on the internet. I don't understand. I am old. I do not understand things. But like you're left, either you're working on your project or you're not really doing anything else. You're just kind of sitting there in the moment, maybe thinking to yourself, maybe like, again, that thinking work can be very beneficial since your subconscious mind is always going to be working on the task if you're not like actively feeding it something else to work on. So like it's a very beneficial thing to just be sitting silently or like talking to yourself or thinking about even other things, as long as like your main part of your subconscious mind is still working away at that problem you're working on. Another thing that I do that really helps me a lot is that I have individual playlists for stories. I have multiple playlists that kind of like have certain vibes to them and certain like tones to them. I have like a playlist that if I'm writing something that's romance themed, I can like put on a generic romance playlist, right? Or if I'm writing something that has more action, I can write a playlist that's more pump up and actiony. And like those are generally good things, and like music helps me a lot with the writing process and getting me in the zone and keeping me in the zone. But like having a playlist specified for a project I'm working on, I find to be like very, very beneficial, because as soon as like that playlist starts to play and it goes through a couple songs, it's like, oh yes, I'm in that zone. It instantly clicks my brain in place and I'm able to work on something really efficiently. And it's just nice and fun to have like basically a soundtrack to the thing you're creating. Not to mention you can make a really, really deep association between like a specific song and like specific aspects of the story. So like there's a couple stories that have a song that's so well associated with like an aspect of that story or the story as a whole that like as soon as that song starts playing, it's like instantly like, oh, I'm in the zone. I know what the story's about. I know what I need to be doing. And I'm like right there in the place I need to be. I'm instantly in the flow state for that story and able to start writing directly. And again, like how much of a time saver is that? I'm not sure, but like it's just good strictly from that flow state point of view. It's even if it's not saving me personally a ton of time, even if I'm somewhat fast at getting into the flow state, the fact that like it saves any time at all is beneficial, but the fact that it instantly gets you in that flow state, which is where you want to be, which is the fun place to be, which is the place that's more enjoyable as a creator, is like hyper beneficial. If you're having a better time, you're probably going to be doing better work in general. A very different topic for a different time, but like you get the point I'm trying to make. So this is why I want to talk about figuring out things that are specifically tailored to yourself that would work in your environment and work with you personally, that would really help with like being able to have these sort of rituals, to find a ritual that suits you and is tailored towards your own personal preferences. Because not everyone is going to want to do the music thing the same way. Not everyone's going to want to do music the way I do it. I listen to music with lyrics. I listen to music in like certain ways that are distracting for certain people. And others might listen to music on loop. You know, I used to listen to music on loop all the time, and I found that very beneficial. And listening to the same song 100 times just like helps you keep in that flow state and helps you just like go for it. And there's lots of little things like that, little nuances that can really help. And some people like to like knuckle down and grind on something and just have that same type of like looping thing on repeat to keep them in that same mindset flatly as they're going along. Some people like those ups and downs. That's why I have a playlist of different music that's going around, so I can have those ups and downs while writing and those different things to keep my mind more stimulated. Whereas like you individually will have different preferences and different likes in different environments that require you to find your own ritual. But what I'm like trying to express here is that it would be a very beneficial thing to really think outside of the box, to really like figure out a way to develop a ritual that's like tailor-made to yourself, which I can help with, but like not very directly, right? Like the more research I could do in this, the more time I spend on this topic, I could probably find more aspects to setting up rituals that would be more beneficial, that are outside the normal things I recommended. But like I can't really probably help with like the absolute perfect ritual for your situation, because you know your situation better than I would, right? And you know the things that could help you, and you know your biases, and you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths. So like you should have an easier and better time coming up with something that's super beneficial to yourself, at least in regards to that perfect ritual that really will kick up your writing capacity or kick up your creation capacity, or just make you more efficient at getting your work done. That's what I'm here to say. I just wanted to make this video quick to test a few things, test my new camera settings, which I think will look a lot better, and test this editing software that I have that I'm going to be testing out a few times, which will make my video production a little bit more streamlined, a lot faster. So I'm going to beep. Picking up what I'm laying down. You picking up what I'm laying down. You picking up what I'm laying down. That's it. That's the video. I don't have further words. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Catch you on the flip side.